Hi, this is Ms. Gomez to talk about financial aid and how to pay for college. This will discuss further the FAFSA application, the free application for student aid. So to pay for college, there's a multitude of ways. Of course, a financial aid application, FAFSA, which if submitted helps you earn Cal Grants, Pell Grants if you qualify. There's also local and national scholarships that you can apply to. Once you complete the FAFSA, your university gets your financial information and can determine if you get grants and scholarships through them. And of course, there's also you working and saving money to pay for college or doing work study, which I will discuss later, and of course, parent contribution if that applies. As a last resort, there are subsidized and unsubsidized loans. However, that is something that we try to avoid by all costs. So important websites to have bookmarked. The FSA ID, fsaid.ed.gov is a website where you can obtain the FSA ID. This basically serves as your signature. Since you're doing an application online, it's been online for a couple of years, you sign online utilizing this FSA ID that you will create. The FAFSA is where you submit your financial information, and the website is studentaid.gov. And then the SHAFE is if you're a student that's in foster care, you can also apply to the SHAFE in addition to FAFSA at shafe.csac.ca.gov. If you are a student that's undocumented, you would be filling out the DREAM Act application, which is dream.csac.ca.gov. There's little tips here on the side that I will be going over, bookmarking these websites, applying as soon as possible and before March 2nd, using prior tax documents. So if you're applying for fall 2021 because you're a senior, you will use 2019 taxes. When you're completing the FAFSA or the DREAM Act, you should be sitting with your parent to help you because a lot of the questions are going to be parents' information. If your parents were separated, you would be using the information of the parent who you live with or who supports you the most financially. And of course, the FSA ID is what you will utilize. And there is a tool called the Irs Retrieval Tool that I will discuss that I strongly recommend. Okay, so the very first thing is to create an FSA ID. That's at fsaid.ed.gov. And the way it works is very simple. You create a username, you create a password, confirm your password. In the next section, you add more personal information like your social security number, and then it looks to see if you already have an account or if you are in fact needing to create one. After you do this, you don't need to do anything else on this website. Now, if you are a student that is an undocumented student, you would be doing the DREAM Act, which is dream.csac.ca.gov. You will not need an FSA ID, so you will directly go to this website, click on Start, and work on your application. So when you're ready to start your FAFSA and you have your 2019 taxes, you're going to go here to studentaid.gov, click Start Here, and then you'll be inputting your information. So once you have that FSA ID, you log on to this FAFSA by clicking I am the student and putting in your FSA ID. Now I am going to do this application through a demo. So yours will look just like this. So you log on utilizing your information. So whatever FSA ID you have already created. So this is a demo. All the information that's on here has already been pre-done by the Student Aid Commission. So obviously you should read everything that you are agreeing to. So I will accept. Okay, so it'll have your name on here, and you are going to either start your application, or in my case, or this case, I will be continuing. Now, it's very important that when you're doing your FAFSA, you notice what year you're applying to. So because you are a senior and you're going into college for the fall of 2021, you would be doing the fall of 2021 to 22 application, not 2020 to 21. It sounds kind of confusing. So I'm going to click Start Over. You have to create a save key. It will constantly ask you for this because it's a way for them to make sure that it is you doing the application and not somebody else. So just extra security because this is such personal, private information. All right. Okay, so here's a little menu of everything that you should be aware of, like how can I get help, how do I sign, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and go next. You're going to input your social security number. This is not a real number, but you will be inputting your own. You will put in your legal first name, middle initial, legal last name. So my recommendation is to look at your social security card and make sure that you're inputting the name that appears exactly on your social security card. So if you are a junior, or you are the third or the fourth with that same name, make sure that you're writing it here, if that's how it pops up. So something to look into, make sure your date of birth is correct, and then you would go next. Okay, your email address is super duper important that it's accurate, because this is how they will be contacting you if you need to do some edits or it wasn't processed. So make sure it's something that you check often. My recommendation is that by now you should have a personal email, and you should be using your personal email, not your school email, because your school emails tend to be canceled or deleted after graduation. So personal email here, re-enter it, and then your phone number if you want to put that there. Your address, super important that you input a correct address, where you live. For this case, we're going to put California, since we're in California. Okay, have you lived in California for at least 5 years? You select yes or no depending on what your situation is. We'll say yes. Are you a U.S. citizen? So you can indicate if you were born here, you're a U.S. citizen. If you're not, you weren't born here, but you're a resident, you would be putting no, but I'm an eligible non-citizen. If you end up putting no, I am not a citizen or eligible non-citizen, then you should be doing the DREAM Act. So we'll put yes. Next. What will your high school completion status be when you begin college? You will have a high school diploma. What college degree or certificate will you be working when you begin? So it depends, right? If you are going into a four-year university, your goal is a bachelor's degree. If you're going to a community college and you want to transfer to a university, you're going to indicate associate degree general ed transfer program. Or if you're doing a certificate program with the community college, like automotive or cosmetology or things like that, you're an associate degree, or maybe your program is a certificate diploma program. If you're in grad school, which none of you are, you would select grad school. So we're going to put first bachelor's degree because that's what most of you are going to be doing. Will you have your first bachelor's degree before you begin the year? No. What will your college grade level be when you begin the year? So some students have attended college already, taken a community college class, so they would indicate attended college before first year, but you're still a first year, right? So either you're going to be here, never attended college first year because I've never taken college classes, or you took a class maybe this summer and you are a senior. So you would indicate this one. So we're going to put never attended college first year. Are you interested in being considered for work study? So you can indicate yes, no, or don't know. Basically, if you indicate yes, it means that you want more information on this. It doesn't mean that you're fully committing to this. So work study is you working at the college or at the university, and difference will end up working at like a bookstore at their school, basically putting the books in place or helping students that are purchasing books. Some students are placed at offices as receptionists, answering the phones, guiding people, or as guide tours. So work study basically means I work on my campus, however, I do not get paid. It goes towards my tuition. I strongly recommend that you say yes, you are interested. Again, you're not committing to it, you just want more info. A lot of times these positions give you a lot of experience and a lot of skills, things that you might not get if you work at Starbucks, for example. So I would say yes, I am interested in work study. Again, it doesn't mean that I'm committing to it. So yes, and then next, you would select what you identify with. Driver's license if you have one, and then you would indicate what state you have it from. I won't put one for here. Are you a foster youth, or were you at any time in the foster care system? So you would indicate yes or no if that applies to you. Now this is about your parent, which is why your parent is super important in this whole process. So you would indicate their highest school completed. So if your parent finished high school, you would indicate high school. If they went to college or beyond, you would indicate here. My parents didn't go to school, so I would select other, unknown, right? It doesn't apply. Okay, next. Okay, so saved. Because the FAFSA belongs to student you, and you're always, unless otherwise noted, referred to the student. So at this time, it's all about you, right? What is the name of your high school? So Cerritos High School. Cerritos, California. Confirm that this is my school, Cerritos High. Yep. Okay, next. Based on the info you provided, you're considered for federal aid. Here's where you indicate where you want to send your FAFSA. So if you already know the federal school code for your schools that you're applying to, you would indicate yes. You can just basically get this number by Googling them. So I'm just going to put in the closest school to us, which is Cal State Long Beach. Search. So there's Cal State Long Beach. I'm going to click add more schools. In California. So Stanford University, add more schools. We're going to put Cerritos College. So Cerritos College, which is in the city of Norwalk. Most people don't know that. Okay, I'm only going to add those 3. However, if you're applying to 10 or more schools, you can only add 10. And once you submit the FAFSA, after it's processed, usually a couple days later, you can go back in, edit, add more schools if you're applying to more than 10 schools. So now this is all about housing. So am I going to live on campus at Cal State Long Beach or with my parents and commute, or am I planning to rent an apartment somewhere? So I'm going to be on campus. And then if I go to Cerritos, there is no dorm, so I have to live with parents or get an apartment. So I'm going to click next on here. Marital status as of today, most students are single. We're going to put I am single. Do you now have or will you have children? No. Do you have dependents other than children or your spouse? No. Okay, answer the following questions to determine if you're required to provide info about your parents. Are you currently serving in active duty, veteran, at any time since you turned 13 with both of your parents deceased, as determined by a court or state of legal residence? Are you emancipated? Does somebody else other than your parent have guardianship of you? Most students are going to select none of the above and go to next. On or after July 1st, were you homeless or at risk of being homeless? Depends on your situation. I'm going to say no. Based on your answers to dependency status, you're considered a dependent student. So dependent means that somebody is taking care of your financial needs. So you would be sharing information about your parents. You're independent if you are an emancipated youth or you're in foster care and nobody is overseeing your finances or supporting you financially. So I will provide info about my parents. Okay, next. As of today, what is the status of your parents? So again, you want to check with your parents to make sure that what you're selecting is correct, whether they're widowed, divorced, separated, married, remarried, unmarried, or never married. Which parent info will be provided? I'm going to put mom's information. You're going to put in your mother's social security number here and re-enter that email address. Okay, next. Has your mother lived in California for at least 5 years? Yes. Next, okay, so household size, your mother, yourself, even if you do not live with your mother. Your mother's other children, even if they do not live with your mother, if your mother will provide more than half of their support, or these children can answer no to every dependency question. So dependency questions are the same ones that you were asked before. So if you were born at a certain time, are you married, that kind of thing. So if you have siblings that your parents support, you would be looking through this. Okay. So other people, right? So other children, let's say my parent has 2 kids that are younger than me that they're supporting. Other people, if they now live with your mother provides more than half of their support. So let's say my grandma lives with us. So now there's 1, and my dad also is with us, so we'll say 2. So now there's 6 total in my household that my mother supports. If anybody is in college, people are in college, so you would be in college, so there's 1. But if you have a sibling that has been in college or is current, if you have a sibling that's currently in college, you would add that person here. Otherwise, the answer is 1 because 1 person will be in college in 2021, so that would be you. Okay, let's go next. For 2019, has your mother completed the IRS? So if your parent already did it, it is already complete. If they will file, they haven't done it, but they will, then you would select this. Most of you are already done. Some people that don't make a certain amount are not going to file, so you would select this, but most of you should be already completed. What type of income? So you would be looking at what your tax document form states. So at the top, it'll say if it's a 1040 or 1040 NR, etc. So most people are 1040s. Now, how does your mom file? So you will look at the taxes and it'll say if your family, your parent did it single, as a head of household, married with a joint return, you and your parent, both your parents did together, or separately, but they're still married, or if they're widow, if you don't know. I would definitely not select don't know. I would select whichever one applies. I will say my parent applied as the head of the household. Now, this is the part that I really want to highlight. This is called the Irs Retrieval Tool. It is absolutely the best thing about the FAFSA. So after this is where you get into all the financial specifics. So if you go to link to the IRS, you put in your FSA ID, it'll redirect you to the IRS website. And the cool thing about it is you'll put your parent's social security number, address, and so forth. And it'll retrieve the information and paste it onto your FAFSA. So it saves you a lot of time, a lot of troubles, because it'll literally put exactly what needs to be on there, and it's super transparent, which means that when you get to the university, they will not select you for verification because everything that they saw on FAFSA is accurate because it was out of the IRS website, which is Uncle Sam, who you can't really lie to because they see everything, right? So if you do Irs Retrieval Tool, it will save you a ton of time and a ton of issues in the future. However, not everybody can do that. So if your family goes into the retrieval tool and it actually does not work, don't stress out. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that it wasn't a good match, and that's okay. You'll just have to input it manually. So we're going to do it manually in this case. You would be looking at the IRS form and it'll give you the gross income. So gross is everything that they made before taxes were deducted or any other deductions. So let's just say my mom makes $45,000 gross. Okay, so now it's going to give you very detailed info what to do. So you're looking at 1040 line 1, schedule 1, line 3 plus line 6 plus box 14. And it'll give you an amount. You'll indicate that amount here. So that'll be what I put for this application. You indicated that your mother filed 1040. Did she file a schedule 1? Select no if your mother did not file it. Okay, so my mom did not file a schedule 1. Enter the amount of your mother's income tax for 2019. This is the total amount of IRS Form 1040, line 14 minus Schedule 2, line 2. So you would be looking at your tax documents to complete this portion. I'm just putting dummy data. Okay, did your mother have any of the following items in 2019? So if none of these will apply to your parent, you would leave it at 0. So some people have combat pay or grant scholarship aid reported to the IRS or education credits, things like that. So your tax documents will actually indicate if any of this applies. So you would be looking at your documents very closely. Did your mother have any of the following items in 2019? Child support, earnings from a cooperative education program, taxable earnings, things like that, work study need based. So if it doesn't apply, you leave it at 0s. Child support received for children, including foster care, housing, living allowances, payment deferred pension, veterans non-education benefits such as disability, other untaxed income not reported. So depending if this applies to 2019 only, so if your parent has received something in 2020, it doesn't apply. This is just about 2019, just what is on your taxes. This is all about assets. So assets are anything that your parent has outside of the house they live in. So if your parent owns the house you guys live in, that's awesome. You don't necessarily need to report it on here. However, if your parent owns 2 houses, one you live in and one is rented out, then you would be reporting the assets on here. So assets is anything extra, properties, buildings, boats, things like that. So you can skip if this does not apply to you. Okay, for 2019, have you completed your IRS? So if you are a student that did not work, you would select not going to file. However, if you did work and you earned a high amount, then you probably filed. Some students work very little hours and don't need to file for taxes because their income isn't high enough to demand this. So most students are not going to file. Okay, so we're gonna go to next. How much did you earn from working wages? In your case, 0 because you did not work. And if this applies to you, child support, things like that, you would indicate it here, but most students are going to be zeros here. And here, because none of you have about your assets. So if you don't have any assets, there's no homes or properties or buildings in your name, then you would want to skip this. Otherwise, if you happen to have that, you would select, no, I don't want to skip it, and you would include it. So we're going to skip it. So yes. Do you want to skip about your assets? Yes. Okay, so basically we reached the end of it, which is the sign and submit portion. What FAFSA will do is it'll give you a summary of everything that you've included. So this is where you should take your time, maybe pause and do it another day and go back and make sure that everything that you indicated is correct. At the very end, you're going to hit the confirmation button and it'll allow you to confirm that everything that you indicated is true. 100%. And you would be using your FSA ID to sign. Now, if your parent encountered an issue with the FSA ID or they were not able to obtain one because they're undocumented, then they can print out a sheet, sign it on the paper, and snail mail it. My recommendation is to certify mail it because it is so important that it is received by the Student Aid Commission. If you have questions about FAFSA, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and I will do my best to answer your question. There's also an amazing place on FAFSA where you can chat with someone and they can give you specific answers to any very specific questions that you may have based on your family's finances. Thank you so much.